Tracking, alerting, protecting. This is WKYT This Morning.
Now at 6 a.m. on WKYT This Morning, the latest on the unrest in Ferguson, Missouri, a day after the officer at the center of the case talks publicly about the deadly shooting.
We're tracking the investigation into an early morning house fire in Lexington.
And top off that tank, gasoline prices are going up ahead of the busiest travel days of the year. Those stories and more and breaking news as it happens. It's coming up on WKYT This Morning. Top of the morning to you. Welcome in. It's good to have you with us the day before Thanksgiving, Wednesday, November 26th. I'm Bill Bryant.
And I'm Rebecca Smith. It's always interesting with those gas prices. That just made me think. Yeah. They always say, oh, it's because they switched to a cheaper winter blend. But I think they did that like a couple months back. So what's their excuse this time?
Interesting timing, isn't it? Just as people are going to be doing a lot of filling up. Well, a lot of folks are keeping a little bit of an eye on the weather, especially if you're traveling up into the Northeast. Let's check in with meteorologist Micah Harris in our First Alert Weather Center.
Yeah, we're looking down toward the southeast. That's where we're seeing kind of a graze of this rain as of right now. On Defender, now let me tell you this. Once this rain just continues to go on for the next hour, it'll cool off that column of air. Then we'll start to transition over to snow. So if you're sitting there in Pike County, maybe even Letcher County, seeing that rain at the moment, you'll start to see some flakes mixed in here and there. And those higher elevations, highest elevations over 2,000 feet could experience 1 to 3 inches. Below that, right around an inch. You can see current temperatures there in the 20s and 30s. It's a chilly start to the day for a cool day, but our second system comes tonight, and I'll go over that because it's going to affect most of us. That comes up in a few minutes.
Okay, we thank you very much, and let's get to the news. It is the busiest travel day of the year. Today, millions of people will be packing up and making their Thanksgiving Day destinations, heading off to those places.
But for a large section of the East Coast, traveling will be difficult, and that could actually create some delays across the country. WKYT's Whitney Wetzel is live to explain exactly what travelers can expect on this lead into
Good morning,
Turkey Day.
everyone. Today is the busiest travel day of the year, so if you're heading out of town, there are a couple of things that you need to be aware of. There is a winter storm that's expected to affect much of the Northeast, so if you're planning to fly somewhere for Thanksgiving, that's where you could really run into some delays. Bluegrass Airport officials are asking people who are traveling today to get to the airport up to an hour and a half before your scheduled flight. More than 80 flights are scheduled to take off or land in town just today alone. Now, the roads are going to be very busy throughout today as well. AAA estimates the highest number of Thanksgiving travelers on the road since 2007. So whether you are flying or driving, remember there is a lot of other people doing the same. So it's best to get an early start if you can, and of course remember to pack your patience. Also, gas prices have jumped quite a bit over the past several days, but this is still the lowest that we've seen of gas prices, especially over the holidays over the last several years. Live in Lexington, Whitney Wetzel, WKYT.
All right, Whitney, thank you very much.
New this morning, we're tracking a crime alert after several cars were damaged in a drive-by shooting.
Police say they have found the vehicle involved in the overnight crimes, but they are still searching for the suspects. WKYT's Sean Moody is live with reaction from one of the victims, and he's joining us. Sean, good morning.
Well, good morning, Bill and Rebecca. Police say they don't have a suspect description. Most of these cars were in the area around Preakness Drive and Strawberry Fields. Police say 4 cars had windows shot out overnight, 2 of them on Strawberry Fields, 1 on Preakness, and then 1 over on Westwood. They say they believe the people who did it were driving a stolen truck. A Ford F-250 was reported stolen a couple of days ago. Police say they found that truck abandoned along Rogers Road shortly after this incident. We talked with one of the victims shortly after the windows were shot out. He says the people also tried to shoot at him with what he said was a BB gun.
Yeah, we were just having fun playing some Halo at my friend's house, and I just came out and my car was busted up.
And police say they don't have any kind of a description of the people who they believe were in that truck. Live in Lexington, Sean Moody, WKYT.
Investigators say an early morning fires, a case of arson. New on WKYT this morning, firefighters say a man called police after seeing flames inside the home on Ash Street off Georgetown Street. They were able to contain the fire to the back of the home. No one was living there. So far, no arrests have been made. And this morning, This morning, we've learned police have arrested a man they say was involved in a violent Lexington crash. Nicholas Kaiser is charged with wanton endangerment. Police say he pulled a gun on another driver yesterday on Harrodsburg Road at Lane Allen. Investigators say Kaiser and the woman he was arguing with both got out of their cars. That's when police say the person Kaiser was with intentionally ran over that woman. She was taken to UK hospital with life-threatening injuries. Police say the other people involved are juveniles.
It's now 6:05 on WKYT this morning. The overnight protests in Ferguson, Missouri were far quieter than Monday night's looting and torchings of buildings. An initial 700 National Guard troops were sent to Ferguson Monday night, but the governor tripled that number on Tuesday. Protests were held in cities throughout the United States. Last night, this of course coming a day after the Ferguson grand jury decided not to indict an Officer Darren Wilson in the shooting death of 18-year-old Michael Brown. For the first time, Officer Wilson is speaking publicly about that deadly shooting. Wilson told ABC News that despite some witness accounts, Brown never put his hands up to surrender. He says he shot Brown because he feared for his life. He also says he knows he did his job correctly.
Is there anything you could have done differently that would have prevented that killing from taking place?
No.
Nothing?
No.
And you're absolutely convinced, when you look through your heart and your mind, that if Michael Brown were white, this would have gone down in exactly the same way?
Yes.
No question?
No question.
There have been protests from Atlanta to Albuquerque and Wisconsin to Washington State. Hundreds of people marched last night in Lexington to protest the grand jury's decision. The demonstrators in Lexington held a moment of silence for those killed by police, while protesters did block some traffic several times as they crossed Limestone and Main Street. The protest remained peaceful.
A Lexington man is making it his mission to make sure every child who needs a coat has one this winter. Divine Karama organized a coat drive for the weekend to help children all over the Bluegrass. His nonprofit organization called Believing in Forever is his way to reach out to help needy families. If your kids need warm clothing, you can stop by Alfalfa Restaurant in downtown Lexington on Sunday from 4 to 6 p.m. What a great thing he's doing. Wish more folks would put their energy towards good things and, you know, helping out kids in need.
Good outreach.
Good deal.
6:07 on WKYT this morning.
Let's check now to see how traffic is moving.
And let's go to Officer Don with that check on live drive traffic. We expect a busy day. Good morning, Don.
Boy, we do. A lot of folks traveling today. This is the day, especially this afternoon. So we'll see what happens. But right now, there are no major issues to deal with, and we don't expect any construction delays of any significance, at least here in Lexington throughout the day if you plan to head out of town on the interstate. Let's get a look outside, and we'll show you what's happening at this moment. I-75, 64 through the northern split. It's very likely that this morning our rush hour will, be actually lighter than normal. There's a lot of people playing hooky today. We'll see how that works out. But so far, that's what we're seeing on our Waze map with no issues to report, and traffic's moving well on the Circle, also inbound Nicholasville Road and Richmond Road approaching the Circle looks good. Now back to you in the studio.
Yeah, you're right. A lot of folks find a way to sneak on out just a little bit early. Don, thank you so much. 6:08 now, WKYT this morning on the air with all the latest. They went into the Amazon hoping to win a race.
But after a chance encounter, they came out ahead despite coming in 12th place.
And the Kentucky Wildcats cruise past another opponent at Rupp Arena. Highlights of the game coming up in sports.
Watching our first system down toward the southeast as it grazes the southeast, it could throw off some snow showers. Our second system comes tonight. That could affect most of us, and I'll show you that snow chance coming up.